Before we start this video off, I know this is typically me doing a review, but before we do anything further, I want to give a special thank you to Square-Enix for sponsoring this video and providing a review copy of Star Ocean: The Divine Force. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So a lot of us thought that the series is dead, and so then when they announced earlier this year that we're going to get a new entry, Star Ocean 6, The Divine Force, I was really shocked. I was shocked to hear that because, you know, even with this, now even that it's out, it still is not a series that people take into consideration, which is so frustrating because the game is so friggin' good. It's so good. So anyway, we're going to talk about this game in this review, what I like about it, what I don't like, and, you know, ultimately whether or not you should consider it. So if you haven't already and you enjoy the content I put out, make sure you like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't already, ding the notification bell, that way you stay up to date on all the content I put out. And if you want to pick up a copy of the game, I'll have affiliate links down in the description below. So all that being said, let's go ahead and talk about Star Ocean: The Divine Force. The Divine Force follows the exploits of Raymond Lawrence and Princess Letitia, who come from very different worlds in a very literal sense and find themselves entangled in the events that will shake the very foundation of the galaxy. Raymond is the captain of a space merchant ship, and during one of the ship's routine deliveries, they were shot down by a battleship of the Pan-Galactic Federation. Following a chaotic chain of events, Ray ends up landing on an underdeveloped planet and decides to set out to find his crew and ends up running into Princess Letitia and her retainer. After a few events, they come to an agreement to work together, with Letitia agreeing to help Ray find his crewmates, while Ray will help Letitia on her quest. What seems like a small situation blankets an embittered war between a corrupt empire and a resistance group with access to technology not of this world. Now, before you start the game, you will have to pick one of two protagonists, being Ray or Letitia, in a way that kind of harkens back to Bandai Namco's own Tales of Xillia, in which you have to choose which of the dual protagonists to start the game with. Whomever you choose will give you a deeper insight into their own individual struggles and motivations, and just as in Xillia, you'll want to play through the game as both characters to gain a better overall scope of the events that occur in the game. When it comes to the gameplay of the Divine Force, you're able to roam the open environments, of which the game encourages you to do in order to find many of the secrets hidden about. You can run and jump as well as swing your weapon to destroy items that you find in areas that you're in, and eventually you'll gain access to a robot companion known as Duma that will allow you to float and glide and pretty much feel like Superman, just take off and fly in different areas in a similar manner that you would in games such as like Gravity Rush. You're able to do this maneuver with the only limitation being that initially you can only do this once before landing on the ground, and then later you get an upgrade that allows you to do it up to 2 times, which makes exploration more dynamic. The only caveat to this is that the areas are not exactly open world per se, and are very much boxed in by invisible walls, which is a bit of a head scratcher. Is why would you give the player access to such an ability and then turn around and handcuff them from being able to use it to its full capability? I don't know, it's kind of stupid, but it is what it is. Duma also has use within combat, as you can use it to target and zip straight to enemies, as well as levitate, as well as create a defensive AoE or area effect barrier to lessen the damage that you will take. When zipping towards an enemy, you can also zip behind them and attack them to put them in a status known as blindside, which will up any damage that you do to them while keeping them in an easily stunned state. The way combat plays out is very similar to previous entries in the series, as well as its spiritual predecessor series Tales of, in that it's an action RPG that allows you to fight within an arena. This game plays a bit closer in the style of Tales of Arise, which is one of the more recent Tales of titles, than the last Star Ocean games, albeit with no need to transition to a battle scene as in most of those games. Since I'm playing this on PC with an Xbox controller and on Steam Deck, the B, X, and Y buttons are all set up for attacking, with you being able to string together various combos in a free-flowing way. The only limitation to this is your action points, or AP, that are spent with every move that you do, so you'll need to be mindful of how much you have left, otherwise you won't be able to finish up your combo strings. Thankfully, because the combat is free-flowing, you can cancel out of one attack directly into another to make a more efficient and less SP an AP consuming combo string. Now, outside of combat is your usual town and dungeon exploration, as well as various side quests that offer up some neat, some really neat and nice gear. None of the side quests really stand out as remarkable and usually come down to kill X number of enemies. So don't expect much beyond the standard routine what we've got before, in this genre. Although there is an exception to that, as there are certain side quests that are tailored specifically for your characters, and those are known as private actions that are like skits of the Tales of series that helps to flesh out your party members, and if you do them enough, then you can unlock some bonuses in the game's ending. Graphically, this game, it's okay. So this section is kind of going to be interesting to talk about because there are instances where this game is just like stunningly gorgeous, and then there are other instances where this game just looks fugly. So how can it be both? Well, that's because the environments that you find yourself in, from the lush dungeons to the sprawling cities to the various dungeons and more, are a sight to behold. It's just that the character models for certain characters are awkwardly out of place. In some instances, character models look okay to an extent, but they have some serious jank to them in that they look about 2 console generations out of place with how wooden they look and how stilted the facial animations are. Now, okay, to give a better example of this, Leticia looks fantastic, but when you put her next to Ray just doesn't look right in this game. It looks like he comes from another game. I'd rather have Edge Maverick from Star Ocean 4 than Ray's model, because it just, Edge Maverick's model looks a lot better than Ray's does. Now, on that same note of talking about the jank, in no way does the voice acting match the mouth movements, which for me is jarring and takes me out of the moments, especially the ones where the game wants you to take a scene seriously or feel some emotion. It just feels like they could have taken some time to give the lip syncing some TLC, and they just chose to cheap out on that. And why, I don't know, because if they gave them this game that little TLC for that, it probably would have gone a long way. Now, since I'm playing this on PC again, as well as on PlayStation 5, I have the benefit of being able to play it on my gaming rig with maxed out settings on my gaming laptop, with custom settings, and on my Steam Deck. I ran the game on my desktop that has an RTX 3070 rocking an i7 10700K with 32GB of DDR4 3200 MHz on ultra settings at 4K 120 frames per second. On my gaming laptop, which is an Asus ROG M16 with an RTX 360, rocking an i9 11900H, 16GB of DDR4, 3200 MHz of RAM on high settings, I ran it at 1440p at 120 frames per second. Now, both of these devices are running Windows 11, so just keep that in mind. The game doesn't give you a ton of display options to tweak or much in the way of accessibility options. And I really gripe about that, because when you're looking at the font when it's showing the dialogue just being spoken, it's so tiny and it's terrible. Like, in no way, if you're trying to read this, are you going to be able to see, especially if you're playing this on the Steam Deck. It's going to be next to unreadable. Now, there is no way for me to test this game on all PC configurations, but I will say this: the game it's pretty okay optimized, and you can expect it to work well on most any setup, even running a GTX 1060 and up. Now, the other thing you should also take into account is the fact that this game does support ultra-wide monitors, as I tested the game on both my 34-inch Asus ROG 1440p ultra-wide and my 49-inch Samsung ultra-wide monitor, and it looked amazing on both. Now, you might have come here waiting to figure out, how does this run on the Steam Deck? Okay, so unfortunately, as of the time of this review, Star Ocean: The Divine Force runs rather jankily on the Steam Deck, and can even come to freeze up in the first fight in the game, and even further in the game, whenever you get into fights or just running around the field, it'll tend to freeze up periodically, and then after some time it'll unfreeze itself. It'll kind of run like stop motion. It kind of gets that feeling, which is really annoying, and it should run smooth, because when you think about all the other Square-Enix titles that have come to PC in these, the last year, they all run really well. This is the one that runs the absolute worst, and I don't know why. Do keep in mind that as of now, the game isn't optimized for the Steam Deck, nor is it verified. However, that doesn't mean that the game can't run or be playable on the deck. What you'll need to do is make sure you download the Proton Experimental and Proton Hotfix updates, and then run the game in compatibility set to Proton Experimental, and it should run decently, although it will still have some hiccups like frame stutters and drops, as well as an occasional freeze here and there. I would honestly download Proton Up QT and tinker with some of the protons that you can download and see what works for you until the game is optimized for the Steam Deck. Now, audio-wise, the game has a banger of an OST from Motoi Sakuraba that just slaps on all angles. Take that however you will. The main theme, Pandra from Hyde, is an absolute banger that is so good that I replay the opening movie just to hear it. It's literally just that good. And when it comes to the voice cast, everyone nails their roles and delivers a great performance. As I mentioned in the beginning, the voice of Raymond Lawrence is done by none other than my friend Mark Whitten. And it's awesome because a lot of Mark's mannerisms in real life, they just come through in his portrayal of Raymond, unlike his other roles such as Alex from Street Fighter and Fire Emblem and Genshin Impact. He nails the role and brings the character to life along with the rest of the cast. When it comes to the downsides, I feel like the only real downside is that a lot of people don't have many expectations, let alone hope that this game could be as good as it is because of the last game, Integrity and Faithlessness. And gaming media in general, just generally hating anything that's not a AAA game, which unfortunately sways the public's opinion on if a game is worth getting or not. The game has a very, very slow opening act that takes a while to get going, and I don't know how many gamers are going to be patient with the pacing of this game's narrative, as even though it goes on to become incredible, that slow build stands out like a sore thumb. The game's graphics and stilted animation on top of the lack of media marketing behind this game means it'll probably meet the same fate as Valkyrie Elysium, the DioField Chronicle, and generally everything that Square Enix tries to do that isn't Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts. And honestly, if I were to throw another downside into this, I want to say that it's unfortunate because this is the first leading role that my friend Mark Whitten has ever had. I mean, you guys know him as Rengoku from Demon Slayer and Alex from Street Fighter and, many other roles, but he's never had a starring role, and this is his first starring role. And the marketing machine behind Square Enix is just not there. It's kind of like it's an afterthought. And I'm not speaking for him, but I'm just saying from what I'm seeing as someone who's watching how much media is put behind other titles from Square Enix, it's unfortunate because even Harvestella has more marketing behind it than this game, and it's unfortunate. I mean, that's a great game, don't get me wrong, but it's just unfortunate. Even Tactics, Triangle Strategy, didn't get much, in the way of promotion either from Square Enix. And I think that needs to change, especially if you're trying to get people invested in these series. You need to get the marketing out there, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. So the question you're probably asking is, should you buy Star Ocean: The Divine Force? If you want to see this series continue and not see the talented team at Tri-Ace be relegated to other projects, then yeah, the answer is yes, you should buy this game. Honestly, the reason you should buy this game should be because it's a legitimately good game that has a really good story, a lovable cast, and above all, memorable characters, a fantastically deep combat system, and an OST and voice cast that just nails it. Star Ocean: The Divine Force is a welcome return of the franchise and honestly one of the sleeper hit gems of the year, and a sea of gems that Square Enix has just been dropping back to back to back all year long. Now, yeah, you should pick this up, and there's a lot of sales that are constantly hitting for every game, especially if you want to pick this up. I'm sure, because of this releasing close to Black Friday, you're going to be able to find this on sale. So if you want to wait for a sale, hey, pick it up then too. But just honestly, give this game a try. You'll probably be surprised at how much fun you'll have with it, and you'll probably be curious about diving into the rest of the Star Ocean franchise. And that's it. That's the review for Star Ocean: The Divine Force. I know this was a longer review, probably long-winded, but I really wanted to talk about everything about it because there's so many different things to talk about and points to hit. The gameplay, the graphics, the story, the audio, and all that. Like, I just really wanted to talk about that. Just because, like, you know, you can do the Digital Foundry approach to how the game looks and the performance. But in the end of the day, don't you really want to know if a game is fun? Like, honestly, when I play games, I want to know if they're fun. Like, it's kind of why I'm a games journalist. I know that term is tainted, but that's what it is. I play the games, and I really only cover games I'm interested in, and I give them objective, like, overviews. So this game is really good, and I'm not saying that just because one of my good friends is the main character, although that's really freaking cool that he is. I'm saying that just because this game is good. I love the franchise, and I really had no hope that the series was going to come back after that last entry. And then even that last entry wasn't that bad. It's just, like I said earlier, when it comes to the mainstream gaming outlets, if it's not a AAA title, then they don't care about it. Like, we're already coming up at the end of 2022. The Game Awards is going to be coming up, and I'm just going to completely say this. It doesn't matter what game has come out because God of War is going to win it. That's just how it is. If it's Sony or any major like company, then they already automatically get a pass. But when you got the talented folks at Tri-Ace that probably have a shoestring budget and they're trying their best and they're putting this all together, and you see how much potential and stuff is there, and you see how it's overlooked because it's not a AAA title, that's the stuff that just really upsets me. But anyways, I know it's a completely separate rant. I love this game. I think you should pick it up. And again, I want to give a special thank you and shout out to Square-Enix for not only sponsoring the video, but also providing a review copy of the game. And I need to explain, in no way do they influence my opinion of this review. It's just the fact that I really like this game. Right? They don't get to see it before you guys do. So all that being said, if you want to pick this up, I'll have affiliate links down below so you can get it. And all that being said, I hope to see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you try the game. At least try the demo and figure out if you like it or not. Beyond that, if you guys enjoy what you see with the content here and all the other stuff that I put out, make sure you like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't already, ding the notification bell. That way you stay up to date on all the content I put out. And if you want to support further, we got channel memberships and Patreon with exclusive and early access to content, behind the scenes, all types of updates. And, you know, just, yeah, if you want to support my work, that's the best way you can do. And also, just like the video, sharing it around, helping out the YouTube algorithm. And beyond that, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm rambling at this point. It's like almost midnight and I'm doing this review. But anyways, hope to see you guys in the next video. Stay safe, be blessed, have a aloha, and yeah, I'll see you around.